till the wind blows and it blows over.
Yeah,
We're both in the shot. Here we are.
yeah.
All right, Mr. Giger, I was here doing some tree work with you yesterday, and you got to talking about growing up in Bloomsburg and working
Right,
with mules,
yeah.
and I just thought some of those stories need to be captured on video. They were good. So may I ask again, where were you born? When were you born? Did you say Bloomsburg or?
Now, well, I didn't know nothing about Bloomsburg when I was born. I was born in the woods up on the hill in 1931, November. And brother, you had snow that deep then, back then. And we had a V-shaped plow that the horses pulled, and it was that high, and it would come over the top of that and come inside when we plow the road open. And like I say, I was born up there on that hill in 1931, up in the old brick house. And I was there till 1943.
Okay.
I was 12 years old. We moved to Bloom. And that was another experience. At that age, anyway. And but we had did all the plowing and the sowing and everything with horses till the last, I think it was the last year, my uncle bought a Fordson tractor. And everything was on side hills up there, and you had to be afraid of that upsetting all the time, you know. And you had to get it fixed because the people that sold it said the cylinder was cracked. So he got the Girton that run the gas station down on the road there. He come up and he welded the crack in there and sanded it and everything. And it was okay.
Wow. You mentioned horses, mules too, or just horses?
Yeah, we had one mule, and he got that down at Streeter's farm because its front leg there was caught in a chain, and it had this all knuckle here all ripped apart. And he got it for I don't know, $5 or $10 because they didn't want him. And we took it home, and he wrapped it up and everything, and the hoof was like this. It was straight down. It wasn't like this, it was straight down because this here was solid. And boy, that was the most interesting mule or horse or anything that I can think of, because when you said whoa, she stopped. Get up, she went. And we would go down in the woods come fall wood cutting time. We'd go down in the woods, cut the trees down, everything, trim them up and everything. Then I'd hook her to 1 or 2 or 3, whichever size they was, and I'd say, okay, go ahead. And she would go up along the stream to the road going in to the barn. And I would go up along the fence road the short way. And she'd go up there, out on the road, and she'd stop and rest. And I wondered where she was the first time. So I come back the road, and there she was standing down on the road. And didn't say nothing. I kept looking at her and looking at her. What's wrong with her? Pretty soon she started come on up the road. I got on the log and rode in to where behind the barn where we cut the timber or the firewood. She went over alongside of the pile of wood, stop. I'd unhook the chain, hook it back up into her harness, and say, okay, we go back down. And she'd turn around and go back down. And I'd get on. Most of the time, I'd get on and ride down. And but like I say, she was the most educated mule or horse that I ever saw any place.
Was it Katie? Was that the name you told me?
Katie, was her name. I don't know if that's what they give it up there or not, but that's what we called her. And
when you felled trees, would you do it with crosscut saw and an axe, or how'd you cut timber?
What?
When you cut trees down, was that still a crosscut?
A crosscut saw. Yep. And
and you plowed the fields with the mules too?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't plow because I wasn't big enough to hold the handles until the last couple of years. But then she was gone. He hooked her to the mower, the grass mower, with the other girl horse. And that horse, when he'd say whoa, she would take 3, 4, 5 steps. Katie would stop dead right there. This other one she pulled the mower up and the knives cut her foot.
Oh my.
Cut her foot off right there, and then the blood was flying and everything. And when he come in, and she was getting weak and everything, and I called Pete Kuziak, and he was fertilizer. He'd had dead animals, and then he'd make fertilizer out of them. So he come over, and we didn't stay out there when he shot her. But we all thought a lot of her.
Almost like part of the family, almost.
Right, just about, boy. Yep. And mail time, if we wasn't doing anything, I'd have to go down and get the mail. I'd get her out. She'd walk down the road, down over the hill, down to the mailbox, over alongside the mailbox, and I'd get the paper and everything out, mailed. She'd turn around, back up. I'd never touched the reins or anything. When she'd get halfway up the hill, she'd stop.
Now, when you say up on the hill in the woods, what township was that? It was just...
That was, I don't know, what they called Bugtown.
Bugtown.
Yeah, that's what they call it anyway, because there were so damn many bugs up there.
Was it 5-10 miles from Bloomsburg, or how close to Bloomsburg?
Well, up here, you go up the road, and you know where, let's say, before you get to Harley Davidson, back here, the old road, when it comes down like this, that's what they call the Twin Hills.
Okay.
You look up on the hill up there, and where the power lines come over the top, we farmed that on the top there, that whole field out through there. And there, when we sold it, the next, he farmed most of it, but then when he sold it to another person, they didn't bother with it at all, and they put the power lines through, and it had to tear the barn down. The barn was falling down anyway then, they had to tear the barn down because the power lines come through. The one line on this side come through on top of the barn roof. They had to get rid of that barn. Now, when you go over here and up Rovania Hill and back up towards, when you come back down to Danville, right there, you can look over and see there's a white garage over there now.
Okay.
Now that's, the barn was here, and the white garage is over here, about where my uncle had his chicken pen. And the house was over there.
Okay.
You can't see nothing of the house. That's the same color as the woods now. it was red brick then.
So you moved into Bloomsburg then.
What?
You then moved into Bloomsburg in the town.
Yep.
That was probably a little different than.
Right, that was a lot different. Because I didn't know anybody. Well, I did, yeah. Not at the time. My uncle went with a girl out on 5th Street. And she would come up there and she would be tickled and raise hell with me. I don't know. and when we moved into town, it wasn't long till they moved in across the street. So I know putting everybody in there. So me and Harlan Schumacher were the same age, and we got to know everybody around it. And there was three other guys over there we got to know. We played football in the alley and stuff like that. Banana man, he rode up and down with his cart selling bananas. Hey, get your bananas. Boy, we moved in. The ice house was here, where they kept the wagons and everything back before we got there. This place here down here was 2 on a floor, and up here was a floor. And they kept their, at the time they had 1 horse and wagon to deliver ice. And the guy that owned the ice plant lived across the street, and he kept the horse and the wagon over by his place. Before that, they had 7 horses and wagons to deliver ice all over town.
Oh.
But then they got like pickup trucks and stuff like that there to deliver the ice, and in the stores and stuff like that, they didn't have to run it anymore. They tore the ice plant down now. That's gone, except the back part of it where the apartments was.
You know, where did they cut the ice? Was that off of the river or off of Fishing Creek? Where'd they cut the ice?
They made the ice there.
Oh, it was a plant.
Yeah. Yep. Now, where they cut the ice was there at Twin Hills, and that farm across the street there, across the road there. There was like a hog hole. They called it a hog hole down there. I was never there, but they would get like in the January or someplace like that when it was really froze, and they get a whole bunch of guys with saws and everything, and they go down there and cut. And they had the ice house on the other side of the farmhouse, and they get maybe 3 loads of sawdust. When they put a layer of ice on, and they put a layer of sawdust on, and they put a layer of ice, layer of sawdust. They kept that all summer.
Wow. Well, one last thing I wanted to ask you. You mentioned yesterday that when they put new shoes on the mule,
Yeah.
They put pine tar on it,
Yeah.
but not the horses.
Nope.
And what was the reason for putting it on a mule?
I couldn't. The only thing that I know was when they would stand in the white ground, the stuff in the ground would get in their hooves and in here, in the bottom of their foot, and they would like be kicking and everything like that to get rid of it, you know, because it was like eating at them. So we put the pine tar on there, and that would keep the stuff away. But,
well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. It occurred to me there's not too many folks that know what it's like to work with mules, and so I wanted I wanted to capture some of your stories.
Yeah, I can't hardly forget any of them, but I'm glad I ain't living back up there.
Well, and then you told me you went to the Navy, was it?
Yeah.
What years was that?
51 to 55. Went out to Chicago and went through the boot camp, and I went to school out there, and they sent me down to Little Creek, Virginia, and there I got stuck. They wouldn't let me transfer out of there. Went to what they call landing craft control school. Now I was like a teacher for diesel engine. I would teach the Marines and everything that would be running the landing craft. I would teach them about the engine and everything, what they had to check and all this kind of stuff. And twice July, you put in for, you can get transferred. So I put in for transfer to go aboard ship. Can't let you go, can't let you go. So I'm stuck for another 2 years. So another 2 years I come and I put in for transfer, can't let you go, can't let you go. No, 1 year, 1 year. And the last year, July, they called me in and they said, well, we finally are able to let you go, to transfer. I said, you are? He says, yes, where do you want to transfer? I says, you have no control of me after August the 31st. What do you mean? I says, I'm leaving out the door and up the road. I ain't going over that way. He said, you're getting discharged. I said, yes, I am. I said, you wouldn't let me go aboard ship to spend my time, so I ain't gonna spend it in this place anymore. So away I went. Yeah.
Well, it's been nice of you to talk to me, telling your stories. I appreciate it.
Oh, when I was coming out from there, he gave me a paper to take to the back to my office, you know, just to let them know that I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this going out the door and across the patio, and I didn't see this officer coming up on the steps, and he comes up there and I'm walking right past him. I didn't even salute or nothing. I just past him. He says, "Senator." Oh, okay. He says, don't you know enough to salute an officer when they're coming to you? I said, I didn't see you because I'm interested in this. He says, what's that? He said, I said, it's my discharge. So long. So that was it.
Well, Mr. Giger, thank you. I'll shake your hand. Appreciate you talking to Luke and I.
Yep. Well, if you know